Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Hotfix. So today, before I go into detail on what we're going to talk about, we've got a couple of guests you've probably noticed on the screen. The question is, who are these people? Would they like to introduce themselves?
Well, since you're the host, you should actually say
Yeah, but
someone
I'm
to
an
introduce
amateur, Rui.
themselves.
I'm a bloody
Oh,
amateur. This is the thing you've got to remember.
well, tell you what, let's have Lionheart introduce himself because you and I have already worked a bunch of times and you suck, so whatever.
I'm the new guy. Cool. Lionheart here. I do YouTube commentaries for mainly the Total War series, lots of other strategy games, and branching out into some new RPGs and things like that. But yeah, Total War is my thing.
And Rui, who are you?
Well, I just basically play a lot of Dark Souls, and thanks to you guys have basically spread around that I'm a Dark Souls god or something, and people now really expect way too much of me because I'm just decent. I'm not amazing at it. But yeah, I play that. I do a lot of first impressions videos on a lot of titles. I cover PlayStation and PC, and that's pretty much it.
Console peon. Anyway, so what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about nostalgia, like versus reality, because there are a lot of games where like we have awesome memories of these games, but then like are they actually that good? Like this is the question. And like the first example I've got is kind of well, I mean, this is why I remember this game so vividly, but then actually this is quite a long story, so brace yourself. This is EverQuest 2. Okay, I played this game like a goddamn animal. Like I was in a high-end raid guild. We were the best guild in Europe for a long time. You know, we were awesome. Rui thinks he was the best main tank any MMO's ever seen, but he's not, because I am. I was awesome, ladies and gentlemen. People love me. In fact, in EverQuest 2, you had a thing where when you got loot and you were the first person to loot it, right? It had your name stamped on it forever. So if anybody else ever looted that, like your name was on it. Like there you go, first looted, well, discovered by it. It was beautiful.
So what you're saying is that you were basically a loot whore, is what you're telling me.
Kind of, but
okay.
Yeah, I was a terrible, nasty loot whore. But everybody is really, But so I love this game. I've got amazing memories, staying up late, faking bloody illnesses to get out of work, all kinds of stuff I did for this. Right, it's terrible. When I think back, it was pretty terrible what I did, but it was beautiful at the same time. However, this is the big however. This was last year at some point. I downloaded the game after I think I stopped playing in around about 2008, maybe. I downloaded the game, thinking I'm going to have some great memories. Oh dear, the game was it was quite bad, and in fact, it tainted my my memories of the game, which were quite illustrious and wonderful. It was just totally unplayable, and like, so I mean, in that case, like with nostalgia versus reality, the reality of the case, the situation is that game is terrible. So I don't know. I just destroyed myself. I should never have gone back. So what I want to know is any examples you guys have got of this. Because there should just be loads and loads and loads.
Well, there's a lot of examples to be had depending on how far back you go. Like one of the games that I definitely remember, and I do believe that it holds up to this day, is definitely Golden Axe. Some really good memories from Golden Axe. That's one of the older examples. Another title, since you were bringing up MMOs, I would bring up Ultima Online. I never really played in the official servers because my parents would be totally against me actually paying a monthly fee to play a game. So I would get the game and play on pirate servers, but that game was amazing. And I would argue to say that it would probably stand the test of time. Like I could play it today. If I had like a decent sized community to play it with, I could probably play that game today. Ultima Online.
So what do you think then, Lionheart?
Well, there's two that come to mind for me, and that'd be the original Stronghold game. For me, that was quite a classic, and I could quite happily go back to that, like right now, even though like flat like 2D graphics, I could happily go back to that. Morning, my lord. Yes,
I remember the cheese wheel for some reason.
Oh,
I remember,
the cheese wheels.
Yeah. Although, did you play Stronghold 3? That was really quite bad, I thought.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as Stronghold 2, I felt.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the tiniest step, like back towards the original, but it was like, there hasn't been a Stronghold I've felt that's been as good as the original. And also, from like a Total War aspect, like so many people within that community go on about how the original Rome Total War is still like the Total War game.
Yeah.
And especially like compared with like buggy releases of like some of the later Total Wars and Rome 2 with a bad launch as well. The thing is, be honest, when the original Rome came out, that had a terrible launch as well. It was buggy. It took, months to fix as well. So in terms of that, I kind of think, it's pretty much the same in terms of like coming forward now. But the nostalgia really is kind of the mods that people used.
Well, that's kind of like, I think that can kind of link into this idea of sometimes you've got like my example of EverQuest 2, where like in my eyes it's completely unplayable now because it's just not modern. Like it isn't really modern. Yet Rome has obviously got mod support built into it, so you're going to keep having new content coming out for it, and it's going to slightly change the game and keep you coming back time and time again. Like I mean, another kind of example I've got with this is World of Warcraft. Now, I was never a great World of Warcraft player. I did play the game. I know Ruby's played it quite a bit. I don't know about you, Line. I guess you've most likely played it.
I've played it, but I never got stuck into it. It just couldn't hook me really. I think to be honest, I've never really got hooked into MMOs with like a subscription fee.
Yeah.
Always stuck to like Guild Wars and that sort of thing.
Well, the thing is, like with WoW, I think like even if you could play that game today, that's what I'm trying to say. Like it's kind of it's stood the test of time.
Totally, you can totally play it today, because the thing about World of Warcraft is the art style. That art style is going to be timeless. It doesn't matter how many years you fast forward into the future. Yeah. It's got that art style that's not going to be too realistic, because if you go too realistic, it's like textures the way they look today, they're going to look a lot better like 2-3 years from now, for sure. Whereas World of Warcraft, instead of going after those really high-res textures and all that other stuff, it's like, no, it's just got this unique art style that you can look at it and you can kind of relate to it because it's distinctive of the Warcraft universe. And that's kind of why it's going to stand the test of time now and pretty much always. The thing that possibly doesn't stand the test of time as much are the gameplay mechanics, because you can only have so much of tab targeting MMOs. At least that's my personal feeling on the situation.
Like I do, the art situation. Art. That's the key word. The art, the artistic element of the world, the aesthetic design, and all that stuff is really, really good. That kind of doesn't matter about the quality of the textures and whatever. That's kind of redundant. That so that it does work in that respect. But I think with the mechanics, I think I agree with you to some extent. But also I think that the mechanics are kind of what make it playable. Like you cannot go back and play. Well, I cannot go back and play EverQuest 2 because the mechanics are so shite. They're like mechanics from 2004, which you could say, WoWs are from 2004, but the game is still kind of evolved. And it's at a point now where you've got even simple things like you can zoom the camera out pretty far to see what your character's doing. Well, forget that in EverQuest 2. You were fucking like, you cannot zoom out sort of thing. So like all these things, like the idea of having like a game which is kind of got modern design sort of infused into it, whereas like older games are not. Like I guess another example I've got of this as well is the Elder Scrolls series. Now, Morrowind is a pretty good game because it's pretty hardcore. Okay, so have any of you guys played this?
Yeah,
I've played Morrowind a long time ago, but not too hardcore into it.
Well, basically what it is the game is very it doesn't tell you what to do. It's kind of like Dark Souls in the sense where you have no fucking clue what you're doing. You just you turn up and it's like, what the hell am I supposed to be doing? I do not know. This guy's talking to me. Who knows what he's talking about? I've got to go somewhere, but I've got no clue where I'm supposed to go until you start reading into the the quest text and stuff, and you'll see that it'll say, when you get down the road a certain distance, you'll find a signpost. Go to the left and then maybe go into the hills a bit, and then maybe find a cave or something and go in there and do the quest. Then you get Oblivion and Skyrim that come out, and they have this little quest indicator icon, which totally ruined the game because it's like, that's the way you go for your quest. That's the way you go for your quest, right?
Just like
Morrowind doesn't have this.
It's like,
exactly. Okay.
You guys remember that add-on that World of Warcraft used to have, and then Blizzard actually implemented that into the game, which was it Quest Finder?
Something. I do remember that.
Quest tracker, and basically would put this big arrow on your character, like, go this way, like make a vector line this way, kill monsters here, then go that way. It would like analyze all of your quests and tell you, okay, you need to go here and then go here and then go there. And at that point, you're like, well, why don't you just make a script and have the game play out for you? If you're not really making those decisions for yourself, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
I mean, for me, for like kind of obviously never really getting that involved into WoW, but seeing it stand the test of time, and that it is still, obviously there's things recently where like losing some of its subscribers and things like that, but it's still got a huge amount of regular players on like a daily basis, all subscribed up there. So it must be doing something right. As you were saying about the art style as well, it's nothing flashy. It's not as you said, the high res textures. It's this that is the achievement in like quite a big respect, I think, because it's drawn people in. They haven't had to focus on the graphics so much because it's this unique style, which just remains, as you said, timeless and classic. And then looking at how the features have, as you said, like evolved, and the mechanics of the game have evolved to go with the times. And like I agree with you with Morrowind as well. I like that because you actually had to like concentrate on the game. You couldn't like afford to like miss what this guy was
really
saying.
like that. Like when we first came across Rui and he's like, "You should play Dark Souls." And I'm like, "I'm not playing no console game." He's like, "It's on PC." I'm like, oh, and then suddenly I started playing it. That kind of like, I don't know whether that's because of my age now or whatever, or the type of person I am. Like, I started to really enjoy that because I didn't have a clue, as to what I'm doing, but when I started looking into the lore and I started reading things, and you start piecing things together, and it kind of was the same situation like in Morrowind, and even you could go further back. You could say Ultima Online was the same. And EverQuest 1, when that came out, that was the same. You did not have a frigging clue what you're supposed to be doing. There's all these NPCs with massive loads of text, and like even to the point of where you're sitting there, you're reading through the thing. If based on whatever they're saying, you have to actually type in the response that they're looking for to get the next amount of dialogue out of them. So if they're talking about, there's orcs down the road killing somebody, you would say, well, where are the orcs? And they'd go, well, the orcs are over here, sort of thing.
It seems like a far smarter kind of mechanic than you have.
But is it too dated
these days?
Is it too dated though? And this is a good topic as well. Have we become too modernized, and can we just simply can't we take that anymore? Do we want the quest point marker thing from Skyrim and all of that?
The modern like versions are, you have you have like a choice of 3 different responses or something like that.
Yeah.
Whereas, as you were saying with that, the idea, I guess, is to engage the player, and they've had to listen, to think of the right response. So, it's not about sort of saying, "Oh yes, it's sunny outside. Can I help you?" It's actually, I want to find these orcs. Where are the orcs? Tell me where the orcs are, sort of thing. I think that's a far more engaging experience. It's kind of, in a way, almost kind of harking back to old like text-based adventure games where you're typing in like the right command, the right response to progress forward.
Yeah, but this is the thing. It's as you say, it's going back to like, that's the thing. Is this is that a bygone age now? Is this never going to happen again?
Here's the thing. The whole thing where it boils down to is the game itself needs to be interesting enough for people to want to actually engage in that search. Like, for instance, I'm going to give you 2 distinct examples here, which are, you got Dragon's Dogma, for instance, which also doesn't hold your hand all that much. Like, it's got some markers on the map that sometimes lead you to a quest, but it also has multiple quests that are just like, you have no idea how to actually access those quests, and you have to really spend time in the world and figure things out. The problem is, the world in Dragon's Dogma is extremely vast, and unless you're really engaged in the game, you're not going to be that motivated to continue. It's one of Dragon's Dogma's main problems, because it's a great game, but a lot of people stop playing the game midway through because it's like you're just traveling through this vast, expansive world.
That's a good thing, Rui.
There's not a lot of stuff happening.
You can compare that to WoW. Compare it to WoW, Rui.
No,
wait.
No,
people on the
listen,
raids. Go on.
Compare it to Dark Souls, where it's like the world in Dark Souls is not huge. Like, maybe for a new player who goes to Dark Souls, wow, the world is huge. But like for you and me, we've been through the game at least once. We can tell the world is not that big. But the thing is, everything is concentrated. Like, everything that is in that world has a reason for being there. Like, there's hidden, as you've done like lore researches on Dark Souls, you know that there's hidden lore reasons for pretty much everything. Like, you see a corpse on the floor somewhere, there's probably a reason why that corpse is there. And that is why that is so compelling.
Well, and what makes that great is it might not just be one reason, there could be multiple reasons, and you don't actually know. You've got to make your own mind up for it, which is, but like what I was going to say with the, what you were saying a little bit earlier on was, it's kind of this, this barrier of entry where, again, the example I've got is World of Warcraft, where you've got all of this dumbing down of the raid system. Now, I've not raided in World of Warcraft extensively, so I cannot comment on this, but based off what I've seen, like, I'm going to comment on it anyway, fuck it. But based on what I've seen on the internet, people are saying like it's much easier to raid now, and a lot of people do see more of the end game content. Whereas if I compare this to when I played EverQuest 2, a very small percentage of the community would actually see the raid content, especially the high end raid content. So there's a lot of effort from developers going in at that point to produce all this stuff, and not a lot of people are actually seeing it. So you can kind of understand that they do want to make things easier for the player to get them through the doors, to say like,
they
check
have the
all
full
this stuff
experience
out.
of the game. Then they
instead of
get the most out of it, rather than if you're sat there choosing like typing in the wrong command to progress further. I guess that's you've got to weigh up the level of engagement versus whether you're keeping the hardcore like veteran players happy by letting them
like
kind of
positives
do
and
what they want
negatives, ain't it?
sometimes. Yeah,
I think it's a positive from the developer's point of view, but from the player, like the hardcore player, the more vocal players do kind of get animated about that.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, if someone isn't up to snuff for doing certain,
this is
content,
what I believe as well, Rui. Yes.
Should they be
No.
allowed to see that content? That's
no, I think
point.
it is. It's meant to be surely like you're saying the end game raiding content in WoW.
Exactly.
Surely that is like an achievement you get to because you've worked out the puzzle or something like that. You've earned the right requirements to get there, and you've worked hard to get there, rather than just sort of having it like a streamlined process so that everyone gets there in the end. As you were saying with EverQuest, like when you first discovered that item, it had your name on it. That is an achievement for
It's
everybody
still got my
else
name on it now, boy.
Exactly. That
Yes.
that should be there for you to just stand there and go, "This is mine and none of yours."
And here's the thing.
And I did. And shut up, Rui. And I did. I'd stand on the dock, right? Kenos docks and bloody Freeport. I'd stand there like, yeah, I'm all shining. Like, check me out. Because EverQuest was like, people had manners in that game, so they'd come up to you and they'd be like, "Hello, may I inspect you?" And I'd say, "You may." Like, you peon, you may look at my gear. And they'd be like,
inspect
they'd be like, "Wow, this guy's amazing." I'd be like, you move along." But like, you are right in what you're saying. Like, I sort of put the time in and the effort in to get to that level. And because I'm at that level, surely I should get that kind of reward for it. But I think that has just totally gone out the window now, where it's sort of like everybody gets everything.
Here's the thing, though. Like, you guys haven't done a lot of World of Warcraft raiding, from what I can tell. So there was a point in World of Warcraft raiding where I actually just stopped playing for a long period of time. And that is because here's what Blizzard did in order to kind of achieve this whole everybody gets to see the content thing. So there were 10-man raids and there were 25-man raids. So you would actually, like, raids will be on a certain lockout. So if you do a raid 1 week, you can only do that specific raid that week. Let's say you kill 8 bosses. You can't go back tomorrow and kill 8 bosses again. You have to wait for the instance reset. So every week, look at how many raids you could do to accommodate these different levels of difficulty. You would be able to do normal 10-man raiding, heroic 10-man raiding, normal 25-man raiding, and heroic 25-man raiding. This was at the point where basically we would have to raid the same content. If you wanted to really be the top of the top of the top, you would have to raid the same content 4 times a week. And that was the point where I was just like, look, I'm done. Particularly because at the same time, they did one dungeon, and you know what that dungeon was? It was the Coliseum. And that was basically just like one big arena, and it was just boss fight after boss fight after boss fight. Just one arena, no dungeon exploration, no trash mobs, no nothing. So you would go in, you would kill like 8 bosses, and then you would go out and you would go in again, heroic mode, kill those same 8 bosses, then go out, go in again, 25 man, go out, go. And I was just like, oh my God, why can't it look, just have it one mode, and if people can't handle it, they don't get to see it. Done. Over.
But what are your memories of WoW though? Like, has that tainted the game for you? Like, I mean, you must have had great memories. You get to that point and then suddenly you're just sort of like, I've lost interest in this. But like now, if I ask you, what do you think of the game as a result of your experiences? What do you say to me?
Here's something that I've always thought to myself. Like, I've played another MMO back in the day, which was Lineage 2, also on private servers and whatnot. And I regret having played Lineage 2 because Lineage 2 was a grind fest. It was pretty much a grind fest. At least I could grind, do nothing else but grind. But then in regards to World of Warcraft, I don't regret the time that I've spent there because I've made a lot of friends while I was there. I had a lot of fun while I was there. And at the peak of World of Warcraft raiding, which was Ulduar, which was just like the best raid ever, I think World of Warcraft was a really great game. After Ulduar, it just like tainted the experience for me, and it's just like I kind of lost interest in real raiding.
The balance between like the grind and the engagement, the engagement went down, and you just pretty much had the grind, because obviously MMOs you're always going to have grind of some kind because it's just that's the type of game it is. But as long as that balance is there, you don't mind grinding if there's kind of the right amount of reward at the end or the right amount of engagement along the way, along the various like kind of quest points or something like that, whatever you're doing. But the moment that drops, so you're saying, after that classic raiding experience, then you're I'm just a muppet here sitting here grinding all the time.
Yeah, what am I doing, sort of thing. I mean, like, another example with EverQuest 2, this will sound totally ridiculous to you guys as well, and like now even thinking about it, I don't understand why I even did this, but the game had such a terrible graphics engine, right? Nobody could play the game on full or whatever. You couldn't have particle effects turned on. Now, particle effects were they were used heavily for raid mob AoE. So if they were going to cast like an area of effect spell, right, like let's say, I don't know, like a wave attack or something, or like a poison cloud, you could not see it. You could not see it. You would just take the damage. It's like, whoa, what's happened here? You don't know. So we had things like where people would literally, we'd go in and we'd pull these monsters and let them kill us repeatedly over and over again just to work out what the timing was. And there was this guy, Lanifair, I think his name was. He's there with his fucking stopwatch, right, in his hand, timing when the AoE goes off and when it doesn't go off. So we know the distance, the time, like say it was like a 20-second window, we could go in and attack the thing, then run off. And it's like, that is totally ludicrous when you think about it. The game was broke. We couldn't even see the goddamn attack. Yet we were trying. That's crazy. Yeah.
But
so
it's like the engagement there though must have been enough to actually make.
Well, when it died, it was like, oh, this is the best thing ever. Like you could not believe it. It was amazing. But yeah, like I think we should come away from MMOs a little bit because we've kind of been on them a lot. The other example I've got is Half-Life, which have you guys both played this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Half-Life, everybody's like, oh, this is fantastic FPS game. It's awesome. It really was at the time. You go back and play it now, well, I think there's a bit of a problem.
A lot of people will tell you that they still enjoy it. Me personally, not so much.
I remember when I picked it up again as part of the Orange box when Portal came out.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's knocking around. That's been quite a few years since that. But then I was like, oh, really? Oh, I couldn't get back into it. There were so many other games that had come out in place there, not obviously to like knock it from its pedestal, because Half-Life is still a classic, but it's just everything else had kind of moved on, and you went back and there just wasn't anything there to really kind of engage me anymore.
I guess it is this thing of it just becomes dated, and it's sort of like, I mean, obviously you got the thing with Half-Life 2 as well, so there you've got its sequel, which is I would say is a better game on practically every single level, but even that now is unplayable really because of what we've become accustomed to
expect.
Exactly, but it's like I don't know, I'm still struggling to put my finger on what are we actually expecting, because if we look at FPS games, what are modern FPS games? Call of Duty.
Yeah, we're seeing evolutions rather than revolutions now, but then the market, I guess, nowadays kind of
in some cases.
Yeah, but the market still accepts it though. To the vast majority, at least, still accepts the evolution kind of each year, or every couple of years that the sequel comes out or something like that. Do we need? How many more years will it be until we get kind of that next revolution in gaming? I mean, is it something we're gonna have to wait for peripherals like the Oculus Rift to take us to the new levels of like actually experiencing games to then do it, or is it something that games as the software medium themselves can actually bring back?
Here's the thing that I keep coming back down to whenever we start talking about Call of Duty or whatever, which is there's still an audience for that game. There's still people that actually want that game to remain the exact way it is forever. So it's like, a lot of times people go after publishers like Activision, start saying, oh, you guys always release the same crap game. And I know, because I've been one of those people. And it's like, you guys keep releasing the same game over and over and over again. It's the same engine, same thing. And yet it's always a big success. People always buy it. Everybody trash talks the crap out of it. But at the end of the day, they have a community there. And that community is asking for that specific game.
Yeah, they just want some new guns, a different setting of some kind. But that's what the people, because they enjoy it. And, full credit to, Activision for creating a game where they can enjoy it and they can do, a copy and paste into a different setting almost, because you've clearly got people hooked.
If you look at, have you played Titanfall?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so Titanfall is very similar to Call of Duty, yet I found myself quite engaged with that game. I'm pretty good at it as well, which sort of helped me out. But I found myself quite engaged in the game. And yet, how is that different, really, from Call of Duty? The maps are slightly bigger. You can run around on the wall, do a bit of parkour. You got a little jetpack, and you get a Titan. That's the only difference.
Yeah. I actually made a video, and I think I put the title of like Titanfall not the same as Call of Duty, personally, because my experience with it, I was like the first get in it, and I was just like, okay, I'm 6 years old again because I've got this huge robot
Oh yeah, I
falling
was
from
getting
the
a
sky that
right
I can
rush
jump
playing
in,
it. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
I've got a jetpack where I can parkour around. I was like, yeah, of course. Like I was seeing like the vast majority of people that were saying it was just like COD because they were saying it's a shooter. Well, it's just like, well, yeah, it's an FPS, so
Isn't
it's gonna have
Half-Life an FPS? Yeah,
it's going to be
yeah,
similar to Call of Duty because it's both got
yeah.
guns in it and you shoot people and they die, you know. But
Wolfenstein. It's like Wolfenstein
yeah,
and
it's like
Doom.
full credit. Yeah, it probably is like COD in some respects, but
Yeah.
I felt there was plenty in there to make it worth playable. And I think actually
It
I remember
felt like
reading,
it was an evolution. It felt
yeah,
like it was an evolution
I
of COD.
enjoyed
It's like
reading
where
your
COD should
tweets
have gone.
because I remember you started off, you were like, oh, let's see what this Titanfall thing's all
Yeah.
about, and then you started becoming like, okay, yeah, it seems good, and you were like, yes, this is awesome. And mech.
Exactly. I was just like, I didn't give a shit about that. I honestly just thought I don't care about this game, like because I'm some knobhead elitist PC game. I'm like the textures look terrible. I'm not playing this crap. What's this all about? It's an Xbox One
It's
game.
on the Source engine for crying out
Exactly.
loud.
And I'm like,
Same engine made Half-Life 2.
fucking Half-Life 2. I mean, how was that? 2004? Get real. So, like, I was really skeptical about it. As soon as I played the first game, I was like, you know what? I quite like this. Even like you could see like the sort of detail they got into, like the way you start the level on the dropship, and it starts like a mission, and you go in, and then you escape on the drop. That's like a little stupid thing, but that made me think, whoa, this is quite like, well, I'm like this, Or,
Yeah,
I don't know what it was, but
even
I
when
did.
you finish a round and you've got the opportunity to get to the evac ship.
Yeah,
That kind of whole like mini game sort of experience right at the end to like get a few extra little points, even though you've lost, you can still gain a little bit of bonus XP if you get there. And there's this whole then focus around all the players. Yes, they've won the game on the other team, but they can still try and like kill all the players getting to the evac ship and stuff like that. And it's just added like another layer to it, which you don't normally see.
The thing about Titanfall is that I'm not a shooter guy, so it's like shooters don't really resonate that well with me because I'm usually not that good at them to begin with. But I went into Titanfall, and I have to say, one of the things that I enjoyed the most was simply the speed at which you move. Because for starters, it really discourages camping. Because I think I saw a couple of times some guys would try to camp, and like before they would even get one shot off, they would just like get meleeed from behind or whatever. So that is something I really enjoyed because I hate the maps where you're in the times when you're in an FPS and all of a sudden you're just like getting shot from God knows where from
It's
some
so
guy
slow.
that's it's like it's really hard to get behind the person who is sniping you. Whereas in that game, you're just like, I'll jump up this window, I'll parkour off this wall, whatever. I'll call down my Titan. I will blow you up from the inside with a friggin' rocket from the Titan or whatever. There's just so many options to it.
But you know what? That's kind of an old mechanic as well, because that's kind of your Quake 3 and your Unreal Tournament speed.
Exactly.
That is, yeah.
But then
I've even said it reminded me of Quake 3, and I used to love playing Quake 3. Okay, like I'm not good at shooters, but I would do the rocket jump thing, the whole brain from the distance. I love that stuff. Completely in for that, but I mean, just the sluggish movement of like Call of Duty and stuff like that. I don't know.
So
it's different games for different people.
Has Titanfall got it right then with the kind of whole nostalgia thing? They're bringing back these old features that they're not new, they're not revolutionary features. They've just evolved it enough
that's a good point. Yeah.
to meet. We're sitting here, in 2014, and we're going, we don't have a game. We haven't had a game like that for so many years, and people want it back. And they don't just copy and paste it back. They add in, enough to evolve it. They've thrown in the mechs and things like that. And what you're saying about the speed of it, it is a fast-paced game. That's what I like, because so many people commented on my video saying like, "How is the smart pistol like fair?" And it's like, well, actually, you can move.
It's too slow.
Bloody
It's just too
fast.
slow.
Yeah, it is too slow. You can kill all the bots and stuff, but if you actually, the fact you've got to fire off 3 rounds to kill an enemy player, pilot, that is not easy to do, especially when you've got my dodgy aim.
Here's the thing. Like, every time that I see a comment on that particular pistol, that was probably the pistol I've used the most. I only played a little bit of Titanfall because I got in right on the tail end of the beta. But, that was the pistol I used the most. And whenever I see someone commenting on it, oh, this pistol is so broken, it's like friggin' easy mode. And I'm like... Okay, I get it that I suck, but if I'm using the broken weapon, am I not supposed to be amazing? No, I'm sorry. The pistol is not that great. I mean, sure, it's good if all you want to do is kill bots. And speaking of bots, that's something that I wanted to bring up too. Like, where do you guys stand on the bots? Because I know that a lot of people are like, oh, the bot sucks and there should just be more players. And I'm like, no, it actually is good because it helps with the whole barrier of entry thing, because something that really sucks when you get into a shooter like a Call of Duty is you get all these veteran players and you get in and you're just getting shot from every single angle imaginable and you can't kill anyone and you can't do
Kiri
anything.
is going to hate me for this, Rui, but he is absolutely shite at FPS games. He's so bad. I mean, we used to play Counter-Strike and he was terrible at it, right? He'll probably say he was good, but he was terrible, right? It gives them sort of like a sense of accomplishment. You know, they sort of, you get into the fight, you've just mowed down 5 people and ran around the corner. Yeah, they're bots, but in the heat of the combat, you don't know. And you also end up in nice situations where you might shoot a few bots and then kill a person. It's like, gives you this feeling of you're some sort of ultimate badass guy who's just killed like 7 people
and it's
on the
not
trot.
Just about
And it's
the
like,
feeling.
whoa. I
It's
think it is
because
though, really.
here's the thing. It's because the game mechanics, they actually give you points and it actually helps your team, the fact that you're killing those bots.
Yeah, but
the
not
game
that much though. Yeah.
not as much as if you kill another player for sure, but it still helps your team.
Yeah,
if
the thing
you
is,
kill
they're
bots.
added in. I think, like, because some people feel they're like too much. Like, why they added in? Because they're like, you shouldn't be focusing on that. You want other players to be against because they feel like it's a distraction. But as you're saying, actually, they integrate quite well into the game. You know, because and as you're saying, you know, like, you go through and you kill some of these bots, and you're not, you know, from afar, you're not necessarily sure if it's a pilot or a bot. You go for it, you know, you're full guns blazing, like taking down these bots. And you're like, oh, I've killed a bot, and then you find out you've killed a player as well, and you've strung it together. Or, you know, I think Titanfall does it well. You know, adding in those bots.
But I think, like, if we go back to what you were saying about these kind of new experiences, because let's face it, we're like in 2014 and whatnot. Titanfall still kind of is an old experience. I mean, with the FPS as the example, the only game really which is kind of attempted to change it is PlanetSide 2 because of the scale of it. That is literally something that was physically impossible to achieve 3 years ago. I think it's 2 years old actually. So maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, you couldn't achieve that. The internet connection infrastructure just wasn't even there around the world to, you know, sustain such a high population of people in an area. I know they had their problems, but at least they tried to do something different, which you could say is a new experience for this kind of, you know, the year that we're in. It's not the old thing being rehashed over and over again like Call of Duty was. But I think we kind of came away from what we were talking about, which was like this nostalgia thing versus reality. Like, the games that we've played in the past that have left like really good memories with us, and do they, you know, stand the test of time? And I think we gave some good examples. But what I would like to know, guys, is examples of you guys, the viewers, below in the comments. Actually, I say below in the comments. The comments are disabled on this video. There is a link to our forums. If you click that, you'll go to the forums. Take part in the discussion on the forums, because YouTube comments are not very good for the type of discussions that go on with Hotfix. Because I've noticed what will happen is people go off onto these little private debate conversation things because it collapses the replies down, and it's not very good. So we'll do that on our forums. So I think this has been a pretty good hotfix. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. And
it's been fun.
I have one more question though, just out of curiosity. Diablo 2, would that game still hold up for any of you two guys?
Okay, so okay, right. Now this is quite a good question, really, because
question,
I was going to end hotfix, but we're going to go for another 20 minutes now. The Loot 2.0 patch to Diablo 3 turned that into the game it should have been at launch, okay? Which has turned it into a game which is fairly similar to Diablo 2, okay? So now I'd say no, I'd play Diablo 3 instead of Diablo 2. But last week, I'm playing Diablo 2 all the time because I've played through that game I don't even know how many times, right? I remember we were that desperate. This was before you could even... I don't think you could buy it off Battle.net. Battle.net was terrible, right? We went and got it off some dodgy Chinese website. We were just gagging for it. Like, they sent us like little pictures through of the CD key, and I was like, "Why is this?" Put it in. It worked. It was amazing, and we played Diablo, and it was like, yeah, that was awesome, and that really stood the test of time. But now I don't think it does, because if you look at Diablo 3, which I'm just going to flat out say is the best like RSI simulator going. It has the best combat. Of any kind of action.
What the hell is RSI?
Like wrist injury because you're clicking all the time. Repetitive strain injury. I believe the term's action RPG actually for its proper genre, but whatever. RSI simulator.
Yeah, I would agree with you. The steps that the teams made very recently with Diablo 3, you know, you would be able to step away from Diablo 2. But yeah, I mean, up until then, it has definitely stood the test of time, and you know, yeah.
I just thought I'd bring that up because
what do you think about it, Bruce? You can't drop the bombshell on us and say nothing.
Yeah.
What I think about Diablo 2, I think I would still play it today, because here's the thing: where
it's darker.
The mechanics.
Yeah.
No, it's not about being darker. That's another misconception. That game's got a lot of colors, but anyways.
Yeah, but it's
The thing about Diablo 3 is that it is probably the weakest in terms of story, in terms of storyline for the Diablo universe.
It's shit. Just say it, Rui.
Exactly.
It's terrible.
I didn't want it to say it like that, but okay. But either way, Diablo 2 story was a lot better than Diablo 3. That's what I'm getting at.
Well, especially with Lord of Destruction as well. But no, I do think it darker in the sense of it was more adult. Even Diablo 1. Like, I always remember that first time when you open the door to the butcher and he's like, "Oh, fresh meat."
A lot of people who play Diablo 3 don't even know that reference. They're like, they just killed a butcher and they don't even know that the
butcher's
was
crap
actually...
in Diablo 3. in 1, he's in a room and he's got loads of bodies like hung up with like meat hooks and shit and butchered. Not fresh
to mention
meat.
But in the first one, like, you'll try to engage on him, he'll just go up to you with his cleaver, like,
he just
smack
wipes you
you
out
twice, and just what the hell is this?
Rui, do you know how I killed him? Do you know how I killed him? It was so cheap. I remember.
You
I got him.
bastard.
Yeah, I cheesed him. Like, he's running after me, and I'd lock him in a room. Right, his AI kind of bugs out. He's trying to get me, but there's like a window, and I'm just firing arrows through. But get this, I'm a warrior, so I can't even use the bow. So I'm like doing no damage to him, and I'm running out of arrows. I'm going to go get more, and I killed him. And then I got his cleaver, which was like an amazing weapon. I forgot to repair it, and it broke. And I was gutted. It just broke, and I was like, no.
Oh yeah, when stuff broke in Diablo 1, it'd be gone
forever. And it was like an amazing weapon. Anyway, that's it. That's the end of Hotfix. So thanks for coming on it, guys. Hopefully we can get you back on in the future and all that stuff. And I think we'll leave it at that. So that's toodaloo from me.
Awesome. Cheers for having me.
Next one.